we're focusing on the day one meta of Warzone after the update. Obviously, a bunch of Black Ops 6 weapons got added in the game, and nearly every weapon changed when it comes to MW2 and MW3. And I've gone with these loadouts for a couple different reasons. One, True Game Data already has the data up on his website, which I do have linked near the top of the description, and pretty much you can go through there, check what the TTKs are for the 300 health, the advanced features. I believe he's running a sale right now, but regardless of that, we do have the information of what is good when it comes to TTK. Once we plug that into my TTK calculator, you kind of get an idea for the Black Ops 6 weapons currently, at least until it gets updated with all the MW2 and MW3 weapons. I think the RAL is kind of an outlier that a lot of people are talking about in single fire being pretty broken. We're probably going to lean in towards mostly BO6 weapons until everything pretty much gets tested. Before we get too deep into the loadout breakdown, we do have a sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by Factor, which helps make your nutrition goals that much easier. By delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian approved meals right to your doorstep. Factor takes the stress work out of meal planning because it skips the grocery store, all that prep work and cooking for chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals straight to your door. And there's tons of variety with over 35 meals per week to choose from, and that includes things like keto, smart calorie, vegetarian, and more. It really just comes down to your individual preference. The other thing that's great about Factor is it has loads of snack options for breakfast. They have smoothies. They have all kinds of other sides if you kind of want to mix it in with the rest of your meals. And personally, I've taken advantage of Factor on multiple occasions, especially when the new Call of Duty comes out. I usually get kind of an order set up because I know I'm not going to have the time to cook, prep, or any of those other things. So it's just super convenient, and you can start and stop the meals whenever you want. So to try it for yourself, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50JGOD to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50JGOD at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Welcome back. So for the baseline one, I'm just going with overkill, and then you'll be able to get an 8 attachment version of the gun at the buy station by setting it up this way. So it'll be this gun and then those. So it's essentially 4 classes, and then we have them built out a little bit differently. I wouldn't mind the perks too much. I think we're going to fine tune these as we kind of figure out how powerful the Mountaineer is of this, or Scavenger late game. Maybe Tracker is going to be the auto ping feature. It could be pretty good. Maybe we got Resolute because the movement's insane. Gung Ho because you're able to reload while tac sprinting because the reloading's kind of slow. Alertness. There's a lot of different options with perks. I'll do a follow-up video on that one, so make sure you subscribed if you're interested in that. But overall, pretty much how we're going to go ahead and build out these classes, we're going to put on some kind of reflex. Depending on you're playing small map or big map, you're generally going to use some reflex for the smaller map, and for the larger map, you're going to generally go with like a 2x or a 3x. It's really going to come down to preference and what you kind of have unlocked if these are new weapons for you. Muzzle will generally be a compensator or a suppressor. Barrel will be reinforced barrel 9 times out of 10. Vertical foregrip is kind of where you're going to go. And then since this one already has a large mag as an LMG, we would normally use a magazine, but we go ahead and put this over to recoil springs or even over pressure, depending on preference and your ability to control the recoil. If we go into the firing range, the nice new thing that they added is this little board that comes down. You can kind of see what the recoil pattern looks like. Mainly straight up and to the left, so pretty much all you do is just hold straight down. And pretty much it'll go into the same spot. And for this, the zoom might not be enough for you if you want to go ahead and hit targets at further ranges. And maybe you feel like you don't have enough control at that range. If you're playing mostly Resurgence, most of your engagements are going to be within the 50 meters. You might want to go higher zoom if you're looking to go to that 100-meter target way the heck down there, which I can barely even see the target to even shoot it. So I'd have to put on a higher zoom optic. And then we got our second loadout here, which is going to be the Overkill class. So we get another 5 attachment on the KSV. As we saw, it has a decent TTK, but not top of the line. And you can see how the class setup lays there. We go to Infiltrator stock. This one just gives you insane strafe speed, especially with a lot of our 8 attachment class setups. We're going Infiltrator. Some people like Balanced or whatever, but I like Infiltrator just because you get that movement speed, strafe speed while ADS. So you can kind of get going. And if you want an optic, because maybe you don't like the iron sights, you can go ahead and do that as well. And it's so nice that they got rid of these dividers here. But pretty much that's kind of how you have it set up. I would imagine we'll go ahead and kind of adapt these things as kind of we min-max a little bit. But overall, these are going to be good base starter builds for the majority of people. If you want to be a little bit faster, put on something for ADS speed. But I think a lot of the SMGs fight right and fall in line around that 200 that we like. 8 attachment. pretty much, like I said before, we're pretty much using mostly the same stuff, but for the rear grip, we use ergonomic. That's just generally the best way to go, in my opinion. Infiltrator stock, target laser is just a free attachment. We could really put anything. If you don't like the laser, that just helps with the idle sway. And then we got recoil springs, or again, overpressured. With the extra attachments, it's going to obviously be a little bit of a better version of itself. Then you'll be able to control that. Obviously, if you want the ultimate far range target, you might want a little bit higher zoom, because basically the red dot is as big as the target as 100 meters, and you can see the idle sway is still taking over. And if we want to go ahead and grab the KSV, I have it set up here as well. Go straight to gunfighter. Pretty much you can see how the attachments build out. Essentially the same build. And it sounds weird, but even with this, you can kind of see on the bottom, it's 200 millisecond ADS speed, which is good. Sprint to fire could be a little bit faster. And since we get the extra attachment, I don't like the laser, and we end up just going with the optic. You could remove the optic, but it's essentially a free attachment in this scenario. And you're going to be able to handle business up to about 25 meters, which is the range of an SMG. Next up is going to be the XM4, which is probably my favorite build. Like I said, these aren't in a particular order. I like the XM4, the way it handles. Better than I thought it would in the game, but overall, pretty solid build. If you want a suppressor, you can go that route, but there it is. That's the 5 attachments. Again, you're going to see that common trend for a lot of these. This one does have the recoil that goes up and to the right. So what you're going to do is pull down, and then as it starts going to the other direction, you'll see it start to wobble. Then you'll get a hold of that if you want to go ahead and maintain that. So down, and then once it starts going, then you adjust for that, and then you go ahead and try and keep it centered. And that's kind of how you're going to be able to control that one. And then you're going to be able to get over to the Saug, which I think is pretty good overall. I don't think it is as good as the top weapon that we'll probably take a look at for close range. I think that one's kind of the top front runner right now. And then for long range, there's probably about 4 to 7 options right now. And there'll probably be way more once we get the information on MW2 and MW3. But you can kind of see how I've built out. ADS speed, 220, a hair slow, but overall you're going to be able to control everything else. And it's basically the iron sights that we had in BO4. It's basically the same thing. Overall, pretty good. If you wanted to put on maybe a smaller mag, you could do that. And then that would speed it up a little bit. Maybe if you wanted to only go with a 45 round mag instead of 55, and then that could make it feel a little bit faster. As you'll see right here, we got a little bit better ADS with that. So maybe you get a little bit more snappiness, but then you're going to end up having to deal with the smaller mag. 8 attachments solves for this. When we go for the 8 attachment, you can see, again, we've kind of copy and pasted those in there. And then we'll go ahead and go to the next one for the sake of time. So we can go ahead and get through all of these. So you can kind of see how we've done that. And now our ADS, you can see down here, 185. So the 8 attachment build is definitely, obviously, the way to go, right? If you want an optic, you can do that instead of a laser. If you don't want your laser to be visible with extra bullet velocity, you can go that route. And then we'll go into the next class, which is the Model L. This one kind of like the STG. Obviously, once you get the blueprint, you'll be able to take advantage of that. And then we got the PP919. I think a lot of people like this one just because it has an extended mag. So essentially for the 5 attachment build, you're getting an extra attachment that you wouldn't need for the actual loadout. When we come to this one, you can see it's pretty much the same things. You can use whatever reflex you'll want. I'm just kind of messing with a few different ones. I want to get the blue dot customization for those, so you'll be able to go through that. But overall, that's going to be the build. And this is kind of the one we've been accustomed to for a while already in Warzone. It's just the Black Ops 6 version, right? It's just going to allow it to be that way. And then we need to go a little bit further. You're going to be able to hit the targets depending on which one you want, right? You might want a little bit more zoom if you're hitting the target way over there, like I said. So you kind of just build around that. The PP919, which I'm going to always want to call the Bison. So pretty much straightforward there. I go ahead and with the fast mag, and that speeds up the reload a little bit. And this one has a pretty good stats across the board in terms of ADS. Sprint to fire, maybe a tad slow. It could be a little bit faster. Iron sights are also a little bit more of an old school PP Bison than we've had. And you can see it's super clean, nice fire rate. I like the gun quite a bit. And we haven't had one that's actually good in a while. Again, we can see a common trend with the attachments. I won't spend too much time on those since we've already gone through the who, what, where, when, how. And you kind of see there, we get an extra attachment. You could put on an optic, but I actually do like the iron sights. I don't feel like they're necessary. And then that's going to bring us to, I think, what a lot of people are leaning towards, Personally, I prefer still the XM4, probably even the AK-74 over the GPR. I think the GPR is just kind of what more people are leaning towards, and everyone's kind of gassing up. This is kind of the setup, basic. If you want a suppressor, you go that route. It will have a little bit more recoil, and then you got to kind of worry about bullet velocity for a lot of these guns. 870 is a little bit slow. I think they need to do a pass-through and buff the the bullet velocities for a lot of these guns, but overall, I mean, I prefer, like I said, the XM4 and the AK a little bit more. I don't know if it's just nostalgia or what, but I have preference for those. And then we're going to go ahead and check out probably the best close range, which is the Jackal. Pretty much built out similar way, which is kind of nice. They've simplified the process. Don't really want rapid fire because it does less damage. I'm sure there's going to be niche cases where it makes sense to, or the higher barrel damage for the neck damage or whatever. I'm sure there's going to be niche cases for that, but it will depend on kind of how it goes. We get this one. This one feels good. The damage per mag felt great when I was using it in matches. You get the 8 attachment versions, which follow the same trend. I'm sure some people have different preferences. Like I said, these are just my preferences to start off of, and then you kind of tweak to whatever your preferences are from there. Hopefully you found the video helpful. Appreciate all the support. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.